Adam Curtis, in his revolutionary documentary series, The Century of the Self, delineated, deline- delineated expertly how the theories of Sigmund Freud were deployed by his nephew Edward Bernays to create the profession of PR and generate the consumer boom of the 50s. Prior to the inclusion of psychological principles in sales, products were sold on the basis of utility. Do you have feet? Why not try shoes? Fair enough. What they evidently realized was that once the consumer had a pair of shoes, they were no longer a viable target, that they'd killed a customer, a bit like the tobacco industry. The small but seismic interjection that Bernays, that nepotistic little villain, enacted was this: buy these shoes, they'll make you feel sexy. Then it doesn't matter how many shoes you have, you can always purchase more. Who doesn't want to be more sexy? It wasn't just sexiness, though. That was a lot of it. What Bernays established was the connection between consuming a product and feeling better. Of course, a shoe cannot make you feel sexy indefinitely, unless you fuck it. Even then, I imagine there would be a subsequent period of guilt, and you'd get some askew glances in Foot Locker. No wonder they make people put on that little pop sock before they go in and try them on. Oh, hello there. I didn't see you come in. Welcome to Bitcoin Talk Show. I was just reading a little bit of Russell Brand's Revolution. Interesting book by Russell Brand. And let's just go ahead and start the show, I guess. We've got some Bitcoin news to cover, and then I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines for you at home. You can call us directly on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. You still have time to install Skype, add World Crypto Network, all one word, and then you can call us. But until that time, let's go through a little bit of the Bitcoin news that's been going on. The price of Bitcoin was down 1.26% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 7,525, a high of 7,668, and a low of 7,508. That's $1 for 13,294 Satoshis. Our top story: Robert F. Kennedy. They had all hoped to find a piece of the American dream. And now, with the train, with the dead senator's casket clearly visible in the last slow rolling car that seemed like one more fragment of the shattered hopes of that dream. A dream slowly being dismantled, crushed even, by the horrible reality of another assassination and the daily death toll arriving from halfway around the world. June 6th. 50 years ago in 1968, Robert F. Kennedy was shot and killed. It's also the D-Day anniversary, the invasion of Europe by the Allied forces. Big day in history. I don't know how to say his name, Kawela Kabop. He says, if you watch all of my 3,500 YouTube videos, I will make around $4. I know exactly how that feels. Google and Facebook under fire for unethical cryptocurrency ban. Yeah, it seems a little unethical. It seems like they're banning their competitors. Well, Google's famous model says, don't be evil. Actually, not true. They changed their motto to something more along the lines of be good, which is positive, but a lot of people are worried that it doesn't include don't be evil. So it's now a possibility. They believe that the company's self-policed decision to ban cryptocurrency adverts on its platforms is ill thought out and potentially even unethical. I agree. They announced similar bans. Now, large tech platforms are circumventing official regulations by policing their platforms. Yes, it seems like they don't want outside regulators to come in and mess with Google and Facebook. So they're saying, we've got it under control. We even got rid of all of those cryptocurrency scams without you even asking us. Don't look at our other hand. Facebook's vice president is working on a major cryptocurrency program. Facebook could even be launching their own coin or own ICO, but pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Look at that. Free bikes. Google. Campus. Beautiful. Moving on. More RFK quotes. That's supposed to be at the end. Go to the end. Thank you. Check out Crypto Social in Las Vegas from the Bitcoin Las Vegas meetup group, which you can join on meetup.com. This Friday at 7 p.m. at Nacho Daddy near Fremont Street in downtown Vegas. You know, the one with the big cover on top. Come join us, get some nachos and some chips at Crypto Social with the Bitcoin Las Vegas meetup. Learn more at bitcoinlasvegas.org. Trying a different location for this week's Bitcoin Las Vegas meetup. Should be cool. Nacho Man. After Microsoft bought GitHub, 100,000 new repos were created on the hosted version of GitLab, and 50,000 of them have already imported from GitHub. They're talking about it in the side. Everyone on the internet is in a big tizzy because Microsoft bought GitHub. We all know what happened when Microsoft bought Skype, what Microsoft bought AOL Instant Messenger, other products, Minecraft, things that Microsoft has bought and you never hear from anymore. Not Minecraft. But everything else they've bought has kind of turned to shit. So everyone's worried that they're going to turn GitHub to shit. So they're all trying to flee from GitHub. Although remember, the new Microsoft has been really good to open source and is really interested in open source. So it's a bit of a confusing deal where the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I'm not so sure. Today, Crypto Graffiti learned that Adam Back sold shirts with an encryption protocol printed on them to point out the absurdity of the US government regulating PGP encryption as munitions. FYI, for those of you who didn't know, back in the 90s, when you wanted to download PGP to encrypt your email, you had to sign this lengthy agreement agreeing not to export PGP and not to share the American knowledge of numbers and cryptography with other countries who also have mathematicians who can make numbers and cryptography. As Adam Back proved here with his shirts, wearing the shirts while you cross the border technically made you a munitions exporter. Very cool shirts. Neat history lesson from Crypto Graffiti and Bitcoin Magazine about Adam Back. The Genesis Files, Hashcash, or how Adam Back designed Bitcoin's motor block. And once again, it's important to remember about Bitcoin, it's a combination of many different inventions put together. Much like Linus and Linux, Richard Stallman and many others built the tools, and certainly Unix pre-existed, but Linus came along and put the tools together. Satoshi is a similar genius where he came along and put the tools that Adam Back, Nick Szabo, other people on the cryptocurrency mailing list, Chaumian Cash, all these other ideas, and Satoshi blended them together. And that's the genius of it. We can go back and look at the various pieces and see their genius, but then again, see how when they come together, they work together with that extra bit of magic. Subscribe. No. Speed and simplicity. How Square plans to bring Bitcoin payments to the masses. More great news from Square and Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey, who's excited about Bitcoin and says the internet needs a native currency that's invented, evolved, critiqued, and developed on the internet. And as you know, that native currency is Bitcoin. Square wants to make the user experience of its Bitcoin wallet simple enough to scale. And so far, it's been quite complicated. No doubt. But keep up the good work. Square. They had a neat little tweet from Chris Dunn. He's looking for people to support on Patreon and support with crypto donations. And DJ Booth was good enough to submit my name and Mad Bitcoins. He says Mad Bitcoins has been putting out entertaining and educational content about Bitcoin for 5 years through World Crypto Network. He deserves more support for his tireless efforts. And Bitcoin agrees 100%. So thanks for your support. Thanks for subscribing to the Patreon and donating to the Bitcoin address down below. And we've got big news from Bitbox, the creator of a Bitcoin digital Bitbox. It's a Bitcoin wallet. They've hired Chris Ellis. Shift Cryptocurrency would like to welcome Chris Ellis to the team as head of product. After many years working in the cryptocurrency ecosystem and running a successful multimedia company for 12 years, Chris brings a wealth of experience, especially in the area of building full nodes. We even have a quote from Chris. He says, "I'm excited to help Shift expand into commercially available mobile Bitcoin nodes. I'm honored to work alongside Jonah Schnelly as we pursue our vision to keep the Bitcoin blockchain decentralized, secure, while minimizing trust in third parties." Congratulations to Chris Ellis. We hope you're doing well. We heard about this announcement. We retweeted it. We'd be glad to try out the digital Bitbox. I think it's mainly a European product, but maybe if you can ship one out here, I'd be glad to try it out. And if you want to do an interview on the show to talk about your new job and your new company and anything that's going on, please contact us on Twitter or anywhere else. We'd be glad to interview you or anyone from Digital Bitblocks. As it says in the chat, Chris Ellis is alive. Apparently he is. As I announced a while ago, Chris was taking a break from Twitter and from social media. He hadn't posted on Twitter, I think, in about 6 months, and I'm not even sure that he posted this announcement. So we haven't heard from Chris directly in a long time, but we hope he's doing well. He was still suffering from tinnitus, which is ringing in the ears, but hopefully he's good enough to work, and congratulations to Digital Bitbox. I hope this works out well and that everything goes great. Cryptos, Twitter's 2018 experts. Thomas had never seen such a mess. We better call Mr. Top of Hat. GMO unveils Japan's first ever Bitcoin mining chip, the B2. It's $1,999 versus $837 for Bitmain's S9. It has 24 terahashes versus 14 terahashes for the S9. It's designed in Japan and produced in Taiwan. It's 1,950 watts per unit. The reservations start June 6th. Shipping by October. The CEO, "I respect Bitmain, but we will top them." Impressive to see the Japanese mining firm finally coming out with something. Exciting to see the Bitcoin mining hardware creation become more distributed and decentralized. This is good for Bitcoin. Luke Dash Jr., PSA, public service announcement. There are not two versions of Bitcoin. This is a scam whereby people are misled into thinking that BCH, Bitcoin Cash, is in some sense Bitcoin. It is not at all. There was no split of Bitcoin in 2017 at all. BCH was a completely new altcoin that launched on 2017, October. The Chris announcement again. A blockchain without Bitcoin. What's that look like? Great work from Bitcoin Comics. You can see the train, and you can see they've taken the engine. That's right. It's a train with no engine. Max BTC writes in, he says, Venezuelan here. No one is using Bitcoin Cash in here. You have to realize something. There is no merchant adoption in Venezuela because it's just stupid for people to spend Bitcoin instead of bolivars. People want to spend their bolivar and store their Bitcoins or dollars. That's it. And it's important to understand the needs of other countries. When you're in another country, specifically a country like Venezuela, which having an inflation crisis where their money is constantly worth less and less and less. So you get paid, but you can buy less and less goods with the money that you're paid. They have different needs than you might have here in the United States. It's not so important for them to purchase a coffee with a decentralized cryptocurrency. It might be more important for them to store their value in a decentralized cryptocurrency. And also, we might want to bring this up later in the chat. What do you guys think about charity and advertising? Do you think that it's okay to use people that you give charity to in your advertising? Do you think that Giving the charity is part of the advertising. What do you guys think? I'd like to talk more about that, and you probably know why. You've probably seen the pictures, and you probably know what's going on. But a lot of people around the world need help, and they'll take that help from wherever, and they're willing to wear a T-shirt or talk to somebody and say a thing. But is that the right thing to do? Should you give someone the help and then make them dance for the charity? These kind of things. It says in the sidebar, Peter Owens, his cannabis supplier, refused to accept BCH. That's right. Cannabis suppliers only accept Bitcoin because it's real money. Interesting story. And Danny Sullivan writes, I'm watching this amazing movie called War Games, where this kid uses Google in 1983. And look right here. He wrote down what he wanted. The lady looks it up. She prints it out on the printer. Then he goes to the card catalog and finds the book. That's what it was like. Google in 1983. Thanks for visiting CNBC. Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak hopes that Bitcoin will become a single global currency, supporting what Twitter CEO and Square CEO Jack Dorsey said. Woz believes that Bitcoin will become the single currency worldwide. And this is something that Mad Bitcoins and a lot of other people have been saying on the internet for years now. And we keep saying it because it's coming true. There's something called the network effect, where something like Facebook or MySpace gets all out ahead and everyone joins them. And this happened with TCP/IP, and this happened with MP3s, and this happened with other internet protocols and programs and web browsers. And it's happening with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is better money. Bitcoin is locked at 21 million units. Bitcoin is fractional. You can buy a 0.1 or 0.001 of a Bitcoin. You don't have to put in $1,000 or a lot of money. Bitcoin can be sent anywhere in the world without a middleman, without having to trust the middleman to not, to carry on your Bitcoin. You can send it to any address you want. It can't be blocked. It's amazing technology, and it's on your phone the way money should be. It's the future of money, and that's why you see more people like Wozniak, Jack Dorsey, people who have seen other tech trends, people who have been ahead of the curve for a long time, getting on the Bitcoin bus. And welcome aboard. We need people like Woz and Jack Dorsey, despite their colorful pasts and history. We need them to support Bitcoin. And well, also, it doesn't matter because Bitcoin's going up anyway. But that's why they're going to support it. That's why everyone is going to join in. And it's not a negative thing to change your mind when you're confronted with new information. Bitcoin keeps getting better. The more you're confronted by that, the more likely you are to give in to Bitcoin. It'll happen to everyone. But Marge, valets, for once, maybe someone will call me sir without adding, you're making a scene. Classic Simpsons. And we had one more RFK quote for the end. Probably save that. If you would like to send us a donation, you could scan the Bitcoin address on your screen right now or in the description below. Be sure to give us a thumbs up or a share. And we're going to open up the show right now to the Bitcoin talk show aspect of the show. That's right. I'm going to be opening up Skype. And if you have Skype, you can add us at World Crypto Network, all one word. Skype is loading. Very good. My computer is humming. I'm going to tell the people in the chat, World Crypto Network, all one word. I spelled it wrong. Hopefully you'll spell it right. I've had a couple people add me, but I don't have any calls yet. The lines are open. Put my headphones on. Maybe I can hear it when it rings. All right. I'm wearing my Bitcoin hat, and I'm in Las Vegas because we're going to Bitcoin Las Vegas. I gave you a little bit of Russell Brand's Revolution in the beginning. And if you don't call in, I will be reading more books. Yes, that's right. It's a possibility. I do have On Bullshit here. I read quite a lot of that last time. Maybe just a little bit of Marshall McLuhan's The Medium is the Massage, where he reminds us that all media work us over completely. That's right. It works us over completely. We have now become aware of the possibility of arranging the entire human environment as a work of art, as a teaching machine designed to maximize perception and to make everyday learning a process of discovery. Application of this knowledge would be the equivalent of a thermostat controlling room temperature. It would only seem reasonable to extend such controls to all sensory thresholds of our being. We have no reason to be grateful to those who juggle these thresholds in the name of haphazard innovation. An astronomer looking through a 200-inch telescope exclaimed that it was going to rain. His assistant asked, "How can you tell?" "Because my corns hurt." Environments are not passive wrappings, but are rather active processes which are invisible. The ground rules, pervasive structure. Oh, we've got a call. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Thomas. This is Mustafa. I'm calling you from Arkansas today.
All right. Mustafa from Arkansas. How's it going, man? What's on your mind about Bitcoin?
You know, a little bit of what do you guys call it? FUD from everybody I know these days. You know, I've been talking to my friends and family that I've got into Bitcoin in the past, I don't know, year or so, and it seems like they're all you know, it's right on the edge, about to you know, get out of it, you know, because of the price decline and all that. And it's you know, I'm kind of running out of advice to give them, and I was hoping maybe you can give me a little help, because every time I come talk to somebody, one of the people that I personally introduced to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, they always focus on the cryptocurrency more than Bitcoin.
It's definitely a thing. I mean, a lot of people are worried. We've seen the price go down. I've certainly had to sell some. I'm going back and forth between, keeping more money in the bank account versus keeping more Bitcoin. The same thing's always true, but it basically comes down to investing. If this money is put aside for investing, invest it. If you're gambling with money that you need to pay the rent, you have to sell some and pay the rent. It's tough. And as far as like the price or whatever, I do think we're hitting one of those inflection points. I've seen the trading people show me the triangles, and they say the triangle is getting closer and closer, which, as you always know, doesn't mean it's going up or down, but that it's going to make a decision. So the decision is going to be a downward trend or the decision is going to be an upward trend, and we don't know till it happens. We keep going back and forth lately. We had that 77. Everyone thought it was good. Backed it down. Even just an hour ago, 77 dropped to 75. Who knows what's happening? They say that the volume is low. They say the Bitcoin searches on Google are low. These are not good indicators for us. But maybe people have heard about Bitcoin. Maybe they don't need to search it anymore.
It's the people that were only concerned about the price. You know, obviously the last quarter of last year, when the price shot up like insanely high, and the word Bitcoin was the most searched phrase or word on Google and all that. I mean, obviously we're not there yet. We're not back there yet, and I don't know when that will happen again. But I don't know. It just I talk about fundamentals. About what's happening in the Bitcoin technology all the time to these people, but it just seems strange, to when you hear people say, oh, well, we have Bitcoin, this and that, but what about Ripple, or what about EOS or whatever else, and you try your hardest to convince them that that's a complete scam, or it's not anything close to what a real decentralized cryptocurrency is, and it's just, there's like this wall between us,
Well, and the other problem is all of these scams have made money. They all keep going up. There's a lot of profit to be had in investing in new things. But I think it basically comes down to Bitcoin is just so far ahead of everything else, yet they're trying to compare everything else to Bitcoin. Like you say, every new thing is the new Bitcoin. EOS is the new Ethereum. Ethereum is the new Bitcoin. Some other thing will be the new Bitcoin tomorrow. This does keep happening. And remember that these new things do have lawyers. they have founders, and they have advertising departments. They have people actually out there spreading the word, getting paid, not just volunteers, not just kind of a ragtag group. Bitcoiners really are the misfits, but we have a better product. Bitcoin has no founder. Bitcoin's never been rolled back to correct a mistake, an egregious large scale mistake. There's been changes and there's been technicals in the code. We could discuss that. But as far as, the DAO situation, it hasn't happened. But yeah, people are definitely going to still get excited by the new flavor and the new thing. What can you tell your family and friends? You have to let them make their own decisions. I tell a lot of people now to mutual fund the ICOs, to take maybe $1,000, put 100 in each of the top 10 and just see how it goes. I'm not saying any of the top 10 are good. I still think it's Bitcoin and 9 others. But money wise, you might make money. And then money wise, the same thing. The next time Bitcoin's up, remind people to sell and take profits. We've got to do both. If you're going to run away from the losses, you've got to take some from the profits. Sometimes we only do the one of those, and you know which one.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, thanks. That's really all I had on my mind, man. I've been thinking about that for the last week or so, and just keep doing what you're doing, man. I appreciate everything that you do.
Well, thanks for the call, Mustafa, and give us a call anytime.
For sure, man. Thanks.
All right. You can call us now on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. And just to go on more of what Mustafa was talking about, I agree that it's very hard to trade Bitcoin. I'm not claiming to be a stock trading expert or anything, but for me, a lot of the time you see it go down, you sell. You see it go up, you buy, you see it go down again, and you're like, what am I doing? I'm just losing money. But the same way, if you're holding, you see it go up for a long time, you need to take some out. If you're holding, you see it go down for a long time, you might want to put more in if you have it, or take some out just to cover. I don't know what you have to do, but it's tough strategies, and it's tough because remember, it's a 24/7 market. There's always new coins, there's always new information, and I'm not denying that you can make money on those new coins. I'm not saying they're the same as Bitcoin or equal in technology or any of these things, but if you want to make that money and you want to play that crazy stock market with these coins, I'm not going to stop you. But you should give us a call now on Skype, Bitcoin Talk Show, all one word. Even if you're at work, you can install Skype on your mobile phone. You can step outside, give us a call. Or if you're in the chat, I am checking the chat as well. So if you've got a call for us in the chat, we're taking a look at you on Bitcoin Talk Show. Otherwise, probably going to read more of a book. We were talking about Marshall McLuhan. He was talking about arranging the entire human environment as a work of art. And I think about this idea sometime when I think about something about Minecraft or World of Warcraft and Grand Theft Auto, these amazing sandbox games where you can walk around forever, and that the world there really is a work of art. And I wonder if we could take that to our real world, and if we could maybe at a minimum help the homeless people that are on the street, and not just to get rid of them, but to help them as people and to give them houses and lives and whatever we can do. And again, everyone's calling socialist and all that, but we need to help people. We need to help our fellow people. And I think that's kind of what McLuhan's talking about, as well as he's talking about, I think, efficiency. If the entire human environment was arranged as a work of art, it would be efficient, it would be functioning, and it would be improving. They say, Gabriel Vincent Moon in the chat says, oh, please, we all know that Bitcoin candy is Satoshi's true vision. BCH, Bitcoin candy. But there's new forks of Bitcoin all the time. I can't even keep track of them. As we predicted a long time ago, the next altcoin ICO wave would be Bitcoin forks. Jimmy Song had that great photo going around where it was like Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin dollars, Bitcoin nickels. It was a million different forks of Bitcoin. I'm now flipping to a new book. This is quite a visual book. It's called It's Not How Good You Are, It's How Good You Want to Be. The world's best-selling book by Paul Arden. And if you don't believe me, that's what it says on the front. he's very much he's a little full of himself, this guy. He's an advertising guy. And he's done some of the best ads in the world. He did the Volkswagen Think Small advertisement. That's a classic when you're selling a very small car like a Volkswagen. But he says, compose your ad from the weakest point. Compose your ad from the weakest point. So what would be Bitcoin's weakest point? If you know that your client's logo or product has to be big in an ad, don't hope that it will fit in the corner somewhere unobtrusively. It won't. Start your layout knowing that it's a problem to be solved as an integral part of the idea. Treat it as an advantage, not a problem. There is a continuous battle between the client and the ad agency's creative department. The client wants to advertise his name, his product, and its benefits. The creative person wants to advertise him or herself. The creative idea is what the agency wants to explode onto the page. The client would be happy with his logo. Yet, oddly enough, they need one another. The creative person has to have someone to sponsor his skill, and the client knows that the creative mind increases sales. Even Procter and Gamble recognize that. The villain is not always the client. It is the fashion of the day that usually dictates the layout. And then he has some words that are upside down in red, and it says, be unfashionable, take risks. Be like Stravinsky, who says, I don't write music, I invent it. So these are interesting ideas on advertising and how to think. And we were talking about Bitcoin and how it doesn't have an advertising agency, and it doesn't have anyone out there really being paid by Bitcoin or Satoshi to talk about it. Yet people do. And think about, if you just advertised Bitcoin with the logo, would that be enough? Or do you need more? Do you need words? Do you need to describe what's good about Bitcoin? How will it help people? And sometimes I think we get away with that, with this fear of missing out and making money. Everyone just wants to get into Bitcoin when it's low and sell it when it's high. They're not thinking about how bank accounts can be taken away from you for fees or by government agencies, or you could be blocked from donating to WikiLeaks or some other kind of political cause that you want to support because you don't have Bitcoin. You could have your choices of what websites you want to buy things at limited because they don't have Bitcoin. But thankfully, we do have Bitcoin. So you can buy whatever you want on whatever website you want, on the dark web or the light web, any web. Let's see. I'm looking for some more questions in the chat. Also, if you've got a Skype client, you can add us at World Crypto Network, all one word, and you can give us a call now. Jeremy says that Bitcoin Candy Crush edition is the true vision of Satoshi. Seems true. Excuse me. Frederick asks, what do you think of the new Bitcoin Core, BTCC? I've heard of the Bitcoin Core project. I think it's funny. I think it's confusing. And I also fear that it might be another scam or Ponzi scheme. For those of you who haven't heard, and I don't know the exact details on this, I'm still a little hazy, but it's Roger keeps going on TV and saying that there's Bitcoin Core, and that Bitcoin Core is some kind of competing project to his Bitcoin Cash. But we all know it's just Bitcoin and then BCH or whatever it is. So someone went ahead and made a Bitcoin Core coin, and apparently has its own blockchain. It's probably on CoinMarketCap by now, and maybe it's going to go up, and maybe you're the one that gets rich buying this goofy Bitcoin Core thing because it's a joke. I don't know what it is, but it kind of reminds me of the Pied Piper coin account on Twitter, where everyone at first was like, oh, this is fun. HBO is doing viral marketing for Pied Piper. And then everyone realized, no, someone just has the name Pied Piper coin, and they're going to make an ICO and a coin and try to run it and dump it just to make a bunch of money, and it has nothing to do with HBO at all, which is pretty funny. But that's how things work in Bitcoin. There's always a good chance to do a scam. I know DJ Booth, who I quoted a little earlier, is working on an anti-Twitter scam bot, and he says that Mad Bitcoins has more than 100 different fake accounts trying to get you to believe that I'm giving away Ethereum or I'm giving away Bitcoin in some kind of donations for giveaway scam. And they must work because they're putting them everywhere, and they're replicating, and they're attacking all the people on crypto Twitter. And it's very strange, but they keep coming. So let's see what else we've got here. Charles Wiseman says, Have you ever chance heard about the "What Would Satoshi Say" survey? I think it's an interesting take on trying to see different thoughts or trying to see thoughts on the current crypto landscape. No, I don't know about the "What Would Satoshi Say" survey. It sounds cool. I think I fear. I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into the way that it's phrased. But for me, it almost has a, what if God came back and saw what you were doing? He'd be upset. Kind of when Moses came down from the mountain, he'd been chatting with God and came back with the 10 Commandments, and he found that his people had become idol worshiping and they were fornicating, and there was a golden calf. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. It was like we didn't struggle through the desert, become religiously pure just to give it up at the end, did we? And it kind of seems like we did. We struggled through the desert of going off the gold standard and switching to this ridiculous fiat money and blowing up the world's bubble, only to have the mortgage crisis make it clear for everybody what corrupt capitalism will do and how far they're willing to take it, using these complex instruments to just rob people blind. And then to close it off, just to do it again and blow the bubble back up again. But for Satoshi to come in and say, no, sound money, no alternatives, no internet, like, actual thing, not just gold, not just a ticket, not just an inflationary piece of cotton, but something that's real. And then we said, hey, oh, we could print our own stock certificates and we could print tokens for everything. And I know Tone's always joking, oh, we could have eBay coin and Amazon coin, and I'll trade you some eBay coin for my Amazon coin. But people are actually taking that seriously now. They're saying that, yeah, we'll have some kind of an intermediary alternative or artificial intelligence that will efficiently trade you 100 eBay coin for 100 Amazon coin, and you'll pay a small fee and you won't get stolen from, and it'll all be really efficient, even though markets don't work that way. But maybe it will. Who knows? But it does seem like we have gone past what Satoshi would have wanted with sound money and with Bitcoin. We have a lot of questionable projects out there that are really more like beta, really beta projects, but have been paid like they're fully delivered projects. So they're saying Pied Piper was an airdrop. Well, if they're using someone else's name, if they're not associated with the official Pied Piper thing, that's where it becomes kind of a scam. When you're pretending to be someone that you're not, that's when it becomes a scam. So again, it's all about Buddhism has some very basic words like right thought, right action. That starts with you. You know when you're doing wrong, right? When you're out there pretending to be someone else and you're being something different, you're saying that, Bitcoin is Bitcoin Core and BCH, Bcash is Bitcoin Cash, and you're taking the name from some other project. You know you're doing wrong. Like, that's the thing. It's kind of a Mr. Rogersism where you just have to go back to these basic truths of what am I about? What am I about as a person? What am I willing to do to make money? And what are other people willing to do to make money? And the reality is other people are willing to do all kinds of horrible things. So you have to deal with that. We all have to deal with that. You can send Craig Wright 1 BCH. So send it to Craig Wright. Rolando Tech says that BCH has created so much confusion for noobs. And I agree. I've heard a lot of stories of people going to a store and saying, I'd like to buy something, and they take Bitcoin and, oh, but I have Bitcoin Cash. And then they have to walk out of the store, or vice versa. I've heard stories, people sending their Bitcoin to their Bitcoin Cash addresses and sending their Bitcoin Cash to their Bitcoin addresses. So it's a pretty rough thing to happen. We tried to avoid it. We talked a lot about ways to not have the fork and ways to work together. I interviewed Roger and some of the other guys. Oh, looks like we've got a call. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from? Oh, nothing so far. Better check that microphone. Well, you might want to try turning it off and on again, but go ahead and give us a call back when you get that microphone fixed. Remember to have headphones, a microphone, a quiet room, and maybe even a glass of water if you'd like to call in. You're welcome to give us a call anytime at World Crypto Network, all one word, on Skype. We're waiting for your call. And remember, if there are no calls, I will read more books. I got complaints about poetry last time, but you really got to get into Bukowski. If you're not into poetry, you should still be into Bukowski. This is bigger than poetry. So it's a total random one, he says. Now See Here by Charles Bukowski. Playing with words as the mind fries and pops like an egg left unattended in the pan, while my cat crawls into a large paper bag, turns around within me, and looks out at me. My woman is out tonight doing something social. I used to mind. I no longer mind. If she can find pleasure out there, I would say that the world is better for that. The radio music is not very good tonight, as I play with these words, as I now stare at the red package of 50 white envelopes. What happened to those nights, man, when you used to rip off poem after poem? Oh, shut up, I answer myself. I don't feel at all like examining the past, the present, or the future. Okay, my brain says, I'm going on strike too, as my cat crawls out of the paper bag. It's a fairly slow night here. There we go. Little Bukowski there. He's having a slow night out there in Los Angeles. Bukowski. Let's see, we've got another call coming in. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Thomas. My name is Jeff. I'm calling from Idaho.
Hey, Jeff. What's on your mind about Bitcoin?
I was actually just curious. I want to ask you a question. You've been doing this for so long, and you've been pretty rock solid, at least from what I've seen, as far as like your sentiment goes. And I was just curious, like, do you experience times when, do you ever lose interest in crypto or Bitcoin, or do you, like, this is your job? It seems like every day. So how do you manage that?
Well, I mean, the price is certainly hard, and it's hard to, have your money in it, and one day you're up and one day you're down, and to get your donations in it, and one day your donation is worth a good amount, and one day your donation's not. So that's been tough. Certainly, when it's down, it's tough. When it's up, it's tough in a different way because it's so crazy. It goes up,
Right.
200% a day. You're like, what should I do? Should I put more in? Where do I even get more? I don't have any more. I mean, so the money aspects of it are difficult, and as well as the difference between surviving and paying your bills, and the just being a content creator, it's a hard thing. You have to get donations, you have to get thumbs up, it's a little grinding. But as far as Bitcoin and technology, being in it for 5 years now, and seeing all these different waves, seeing the blockchain wave and the ICO wave and the Ethereum waves and all these things, I'm still excited about the technology. Looking at it 5 years, it's like, why is it not moving faster? I think like it was great to see the 20K when everyone was excited and we were moving up and everyone was joining. All the searches were up. We had a little explosion in our stats here. We had a lot more subscribers then than we do now. Not of new subscribers. So new people were coming in, which is exciting for crypto and good for the channel and good for discussions in the chat and everything. Right now, it's a little harder because new people aren't coming in. We went through a similar period like 2014, 2015. The price was way down. We kept talking about it. We kept holding the little bit we had. But even then, you get paid some and you'd be like, well, I need to get paid what I got paid. So I'm going to sell these right away. And now you're saying something like, I sold them at 300 or I sold them at 500. And people are like, how could you do that? But again, you had to get paid in it. So that's a little tough. And then, yeah, it's tough to see all the Ethereum ICO people become millionaires and billionaires and whatever, but they took big risks to do that.
Right.
They invested, 10,000, 20,000, lots of money in these things early, and they held and they sold. So that's a little strange. But no, I just keep doing it. And I'm excited now. I have moved to Las Vegas, so that's different for me. I'm trying to start a meetup group here. It's tough going. We had like 2 people last week. I'm hoping for like 2 or 3 this week. And I really think
that meet up here in Idaho as well, and we had I think it was like 6 people. The first one we like do like every month, and most people, of course, are just interested in other coins and things like that. But I'm trying to bring as much Bitcoin as I can to it.
that is tough because a lot of the questions that you'll get just from doing a meetup or from meeting people is, oh, well, what do you think about this new coin? And I'm like, well, I'm interested in new coins. I like new technology. Maybe it'll work. I'm just very skeptical because even when Bitcoin came out, I was very skeptical of Bitcoin. It took me years to come back to Bitcoin and say, okay, all these pieces really do work together. A lot of people have tried to break it. People smarter than me have tried to break it. They fixed some things. And then for me, what it really was is I saw Coinbase and BitPay, and I saw these two companies had been formed around Bitcoin and made it easy to use and easy to buy. I was like, oh, well, this is going to work. It's not just World of Warcraft money, but yeah, every time it dips, every time the searches are down, I'm telling you truly, our stats are terrible. Our subscriber stats, everything that I keep making shows, but yeah, the stats are terrible. Yeah, you lose it.
You're awesome, man. I think it's really cool that you plug away at it. Like you guys, like I was saying, like you and like the like other guys in the network are just kind of relentless, and I appreciate that because I know like for myself, back when it was 20K, you kind of like you said, you get this euphoric feeling like we're going to be millionaires and all this stuff, and then like now, like I had to sell a car back last year due to like a job loss, and then now I'm back in a situation where I could buy a car again, and I'm like, well, the price is so low on Bitcoin, like let me just buy the crappiest car possible and invest the rest in Bitcoin. But then there's also the situation where it's like you're not as excited about Bitcoin because like the whole mental, chase the rabbit thing. So I just wanted to ask you about that. I appreciate you guys just holding the line.
Yeah, thanks, man. I think it's a really good topic, and a lot of people probably feel the same way. The price is tough
Yeah.
because you believe in the technology and you see it work,
Right.
and then you go read about it, and it's such high level, and all the people working on it are so smart, working on really difficult problems. But then we lose, 30% of your money. And you're like, oh, if I'm so smart and this technology is so good, why did I just sit here and absorb this 30%? Or even now, I guess it's like 60% loss from the height. And a lot of it comes to, like I was saying earlier, with the trading. Recently, I did move some into a money account where it's cash and it's Bitcoin. And I'm like, oh, 50-50. And then it goes up and I'm like, oh, I should be more 75-25. And then it goes down. I'm like, what am I doing? And I get back to 50. And, you're losing money on these trades unless you're patient, unless you're organized, unless you have a strategy or you're reading the charts or something. People do different things. But for me, it doesn't work. So.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, man. But yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate what you guys do.
Well, cool. Thanks so much for the call, and give us a call anytime.
Right on.
All right. And you could give us a call now on World Crypto Network, all one word on Skype. Looks like we had someone trying to call us. Maybe we'll give them a call back, or maybe they're calling now. Let's see. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Bad luck with that microphone. Doesn't seem to work on Skype. Last guy worked, so I know my system's working. Maybe you have a Windows problem. You need to try turning it off and on again. Maybe try turning it off and on again. That always works. But yeah, I agree with the last caller. It's tough. The price makes Bitcoin tough. It also makes it fun and rewarding. Sometimes you get to buy an Apple Watch. Hello, caller. You're live on the air. Give it one more try. Oh, I don't know. If you repeat the same thing over and over again, it's that definition. It's insanity, insanity, madness. But I think it's Shambu Spain trying to give us a call. He was just on Andy Hoffman's show this morning. They did a little interview. You can check that out right here on the World Crypto Network. Go ahead and subscribe down below. Give us a thumbs up and a share so more people will find this show. We're going to check in with the chat, see what's been going on. They're talking about Pied Piper coin. They think it's not that bad. It's probably just a joke. If it's just a joke, I'm fine with it. If it turns out to be some kind of money-making profit scam and nothing to do with the HBO show, then sadly, I called it. But I hope it's just a fun joke. But You can't put anything by these scammers and these spammers. They're really dedicated to making money without working, or making money with their own version of working. And again, it's kind of a version of the American dream. They want to get rich quick. They want to do it on their own and raise themselves up by their bootstraps. And it's better just to invest in something or believe in something, work in a community, make more money, slowly earn that money, slowly compile it, save it. Like the last caller was saying, Bitcoin really does teach you to save. You know, you could probably, a lot of people could cash in their Bitcoin and buy a brand new car, like the caller was saying, but he'd rather have an older used car that just kind of works. And I feel much the same way. I think, unfortunately, I think my car at home, the Bitcoin sticker that I put on it is now definitely worth more than the car. The car is in bad shape. It's a Toyota Corolla from around the year 2000 or 2004, maybe. That's 14 years ago. And the sticker is about 5 years old. I think I bought the sticker for around zero point 0.2 Bitcoin. It was around $20. It came with maybe some other stuff, but it was shipped from eBay. And you know, you had to pay a lot back in those days because no one had Bitcoin stickers. And yeah, zero point 0.2 for a Bitcoin sticker. And now the car is definitely worth less than $500, and a zero point 0.2, even around 7,000, is still 3,500 or something. So maybe a little more, but crazy. And it just happens. So we've got a comment in the chat. He says, Bukowski is awesome, but I usually start drinking more if I read him. He does inspire a little drinking. I read the play Long Day's Journey into Night once, and everyone in the play was drinking. And I felt I had to start drinking. And it really did make the play better. I started to get it. It was a good play. Let's see. They're saying you can hedge. Thanking me for keeping it on. He says, I wasted Bitcoin on World of Warcraft back in the day. And that's the funny thing now about World of Warcraft. I know I certainly just kind of avoided it. I thought that I would get totally addicted and lose my life and play online all the time. And maybe I was right, maybe I was wrong, but I just never played. Whereas other people like Trace Mayer and Vitalik played. And something about World of Warcraft and the way it changed them that led them to Bitcoin. I don't know about Trace, but I know Vitalik, certainly his bio now reads something like, they took away my favorite spell on World of Warcraft, so I quit the game forever in a huff. And because of all this free time he had, he learned about Bitcoin and economics and cryptography, and really started going the direction to create Ethereum. It's interesting to think. But another friend of mine worked on World of Warcraft and Diablo items, and he set up websites where you could sell them online, and he kept getting ripped off because he'd give someone a virtual sword and they'd say, I didn't get it. And he'd say, I gave it to you. And they'd say, there's no proof system for this virtual sword. And the credit card would rule against him. So eventually he started taking Bitcoin. And later on, he ended up founding one of the major Bitcoin companies. So it's a really cool story. And it's really neat to see the way that technology, even a video game, which you might think is a waste of time, ended up influencing people and leading them to Bitcoin, which was not a waste of time, as it turns out. They say, talking about Bitcoin Cash. Let's see. Oh, a lot new chats. Let's go back a little bit. If Trump did become president just because of money and marketing, the same can happen with BCH against BTC or XRP, crazy money and marketing. And I think this is a good point. Marketing and money can sometimes win the war over better technology. Hello, you're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Thomas. This is Gabriel Vincent Moon from Phoenix, Arizona.
All right, Gabriel, how's it going? What's your thoughts on Bitcoin today?
Hey, it's going pretty good, man. So this will be the third time I've talked to you, and I wanted to talk to you about Satoshi's true vision. So in Bitcoin Cash, we see this focus on like a narrative, I guess, that the core developers in Bitcoin have strayed away from the true vision of Satoshi by implementing something like SegWit. So do you think that's like an accurate Is that how they feel, do you think?
Well, I think the first way you have to do that is you have to say that this is not a religion. So Satoshi's true vision doesn't matter to you unless this is a religion. If this is a religion, then we're just going to listen to the king, and the king has laid down in stone the code of Bitcoin. To me, code is flexible. Software is flexible. If it works a better way and you can prove it to me, or if you can prove it to other people who write software, experts in the field, I can trust their opinions, the software can change. So I think the Bitcoin software has already changed a lot. I think when it comes to separating the signatures, the change they did make in a segregated witness, if separating the signatures gets us to a layer 2 technology that can handle more transactions as well as do all the other things we want from layer 2 and side chains and all these things, then it's worth it, right? It's a good change. Now, if separating the signatures harms the Bitcoin in some way, which I've not seen evidence of, then it's not worth it, right? And that's why we had the big debate, and that's why all the smart people and the coders all wrote their little pieces and talked on different shows, and it all went on and on for 3 years. And to me, I really think that it's settled that SegWit is good technology. I don't think that Satoshi's vision matters, and I don't think Satoshi would think that Satoshi's vision matters. He doesn't seem like that kind of person. But what do you think? Do you
So
disagree?
I agree with pretty much everything you said. Like for me, it's you have to convince me that on-chain scaling is going to be a better scaling solution than off-chain scaling through second layers. And like the moment they can convince me of that, then I'll value Bitcoin Cash more than Bitcoin. But I still haven't seen that because they'll go back to things like Satoshi's true vision, right? And where like, okay, like if you want to view Bitcoin as a religion, then sure, you could make like a lot of parallels with Christianity, where, for example, Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and they'll say like Satoshi is like, well, in Bitcoin, we don't think Satoshi is like an alien or like a being that's more than a human, right? He's just a
I'm not ruling that out. I'm not ruling out that both might be aliens.
yeah. So I think there's someone I really like to watch in the Bitcoin space is Chris Rose, because he's not afraid to explore some of these ideas like Bitcoin as a religion. So if we could like compare Bitcoin and the faith in Bitcoin to something like EOS, for example. So putting aside all of the proof of stake stuff with EOS, you can see that Dan Larimer is trying to kind of recreate this like decentralization where instead of him starting the blockchain, as I think he may have previously done in his other projects, we saw that he released the software and he said, okay, now other people have to start this blockchain. So I think where Dan Larimer went wrong is that he's not anonymous in the same way that Satoshi is anonymous. And a lot of the funds that Block One was able to raise in the initial EOS ICO was faith in the human Dan Larimer. So I think there's a lot of faith involved in all of these different blockchain projects, but I think you could argue that like Bitcoin is the one that you can have the least faith in. What do you think?
Well, I agree, and it's interesting because Bitcoin has the most in common with kind of the Bible, where you say, "Oh, it's a mysterious creator, it's a Jesus type figure that disappears." Whereas Dan Larimer is a person, and you can go find him, and he has an address and all these kinds of things. It is interesting to see him try to recreate his project after BitShares, after Steam, after this new one. He does kind of seem to go from project to project, and they do very well. But then he moves on to the next project. So I don't know what that means for them accomplishing their goals with EOS and all that kind of thing. But as far as Bitcoin being a religion, I would go back even further than Christianity to the Greek religions. And what I would talk about is Prometheus, because I think Bitcoin and Satoshi is Prometheus. He's the fire bringer. He's bringing knowledge to man. He's coming down off the mountain. And remember what happens to Prometheus is he's chained to a rock, and this bird eats his liver out every day. Then his liver regrows. Satoshi didn't want that to happen to him. And that's, again, what shows the smartest part of all this is that you can say, you know, Vitalik's a really smart guy. Dan Larimer is probably a really smart guy. I haven't met him. I don't know. But Satoshi, by disappearing, is the smartest guy ever. I mean, to do this kind of disappearing act, normally you'd have to have military discipline. You'd have to have someone say, okay, you're a CIA agent. You're not going to get any glory for this operation, but you're going to disappear and you're going to be happy with the results. And Satoshi has that similar kind of military discipline where you have to picture him or her or the team, whoever they are, somewhere happy with the results. They've pulled it off. They disappeared. All these other altcoins, some of them had anonymous founders, some of them had public founders, some were founded by companies with a year-long crowd sale. It just keeps going. But none of them are like Satoshi. None of them are like Bitcoin. They can only mimic and copy that. And as long as we don't know who Satoshi is, we're going to be able to say that, and we're going to be able to have these kind of ideas. So.
Right. It's like, it's so interesting, like how, like, I don't know who it was, if it was a group of people or one person, but they had the foresight to be able to understand that in order for it to be a truly decentralized system, they had to like not be a part of it. So, but anyways, I think there's a lot of such interesting social aspects to Bitcoin that people don't understand when they get into it for the first time, and it's such a deep thing. It's like such a rabbit hole, you know.
Well, it's like a Swiss Army with that knife, right? It's got all these different tools in it. You're like, oh, it's great because it's got tweezers, and someone else is like, it's great because it's got a big knife. But yeah, I agree. They had a incredible forethought to walk away from this project. And if you go back to the Prometheus story, Prometheus, his name actually means afterthought. He didn't have forethought. He brought fire to men. He didn't really care what happened to him. He was chained to the rock for a long time until Hercules came and freed him. But his brother Epimetheus is actually named Forethought. And he told his brother that he shouldn't do this. And he told him that he'd be pissing off Zeus and the gods if you gave knowledge to man, if you gave them fire. And the same way that Satoshi, freeing us from the banking system, giving us this money system that can't be taken away from us and taxed and nickel and dimed with little fees. And you can't say, I can't send it to this address, or I can't send it to that address, or that's dirty Bitcoin, that's good Bitcoin. Money, Bitcoin laundering, all this doesn't exist in the Bitcoin world. And Satoshi gave that to us, and it's an incredible gift. So it does get religious when you think about what the Satoshi team's given us, what they've given up by not cashing in those billion Bitcoins. If you look at any of these other chains, they were all at some point created for the money. They were created so they could get the chain, get the coins, cash them in, build their project. Maybe it's a noble project, but still it's for the money. This Satoshi chain seems on its face, and maybe he bought a bunch or held a bunch or mined a bunch or whatever. I don't know what the team did, but it seems on its face a science project. Can we do this? And when you look at the early messages with Hal Finney, and Hal Finney's testing out the software, it's more like Steve Woz and Jobs in the garage. Can we do this? Can we make a computer? And we can go to the store and we can buy the parts and we can solder them together and we can sell it to some guy. Is that enough? Is that a computer? And Bitcoin is the computer that Satoshi made.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so obvious. Like every time I talk to you, that you you do know a lot more than I do, because like even with like just talking about Satoshi's true vision, you knew like exactly where I was going to go with that and talk about religion. And so that's why I keep fucking coming back to the World Crypto Network, because you guys have just great arguments for why we should support Bitcoin over these other blockchains, basically.
Well, it's been a long time and a lot of practice, and you just got to start somewhere, and you got to start talking about what you think and breaking it down logically. If you can find a hole in the argument, we'd love to talk about it. But if your hole in the argument is just marketing, or we've got more money, or you can make more money, or maybe you made a lot of money, or whatever, that's great. But that's not a logical hole in the argument. So I don't think there is a logical hole in the Bitcoin argument. If there were, I think Andreas would have found it. He's been working hard. A lot of other people, I think DeSantis or one of those people. DeSantis says there's something wrong with the address format. But other than that, they would have found it. Yeah.
DeSantis, he's on another level. So
yeah, he's a character. He's like a mad scientist. He's part scientist, but he's also part mad. So, but yeah, I like to listen to him too.
All right, awesome, man. That's all I had to say. So it's good talking to you again. I'll definitely call back in the future.
Definitely, man. Thanks so much for the call, and give us a call anytime. And cool. And if you're at home, you can give us a call on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. We probably got about 8 minutes left in this show. I think we went on around 10 o'clock. Maybe it was a little after that, but we'll try to keep this going. If you've got a question, you could type it into the chat right now. Otherwise, I'm looking at my stack of books. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Thomas. My name is Jeremy. I'm calling you from Ireland. Big fans of you over here.
Well, thanks so much, Jeremy. What's on your mind about Bitcoin today?
I just wanted just to say something about that whole idea of Bitcoin and then religion, and this whole thing of Satoshi's vision. Because recently I was listening to a guy. He was talking about Buddhism, and he was telling a story about a young student who went to the master with a question. You can imagine this master on the top of a mountain, and he said to him, if I met the Buddha, the central figure, on the street, walking towards me, what would I say? What would I do? And the master said, raise your staff and strike him down. Okay. Now, when I heard that, I was a bit shocked. I said, God, that's a bit extreme. The central figure, if that was Jesus Christ, they would probably bow at his feet and ask him, what should they do? But, with the Buddhist philosophy, it wasn't about the central authority. It was about making up your own mind. And, if you keep focusing on this entity, the central figure, you never really find the truth yourself. And when I heard that, I was like, well, with the Bitcoin community, if Satoshi came out of the blue and moved his coins or signed something, I think the correct action would be to raise the staff and strike him down. Because it's not about that. It's not about that central authority, There's something bigger going on here. So, yeah, it was just, I heard that story and that was the connection I made, and just wanted to share that. It's just a twist on it.
I think that's a great story, and I love your accent. And I think that another part of that is that the Buddha would probably welcome you striking him down. And he would say, that's a good way to test if I am the Buddha. And obviously to go around saying you're the Buddha is the biggest jerk thing you can do if you're not the Buddha. So if you really are a jerk and you're like, now I'm saying not Vitalik, but these other people, they've kind of gone around and said they're Satoshi, and they kind of act like they're the Buddha. And a lot of people are like, yeah, they're very smart people and they work very hard and they wrote good code. These are all, Buddha-like qualities and Buddha-like aspects, but you're not quite the Buddha. So yeah, I think it's a really good story. It ties in well to what we're talking about.
That's it. It's like he who knows doesn't speak, and he who speaks doesn't know. But
I think that's the hardest part. And my friend Blake talks about all that time with the Dunning-Kruger effect, that smart people know that there's someone smarter than them, but dumb people don't know that there's anyone smarter than them. And that we have this problem with all the dumb people being very loud and all the smart people being very quiet.
Exactly, yeah. And I would say to all those people who, they follow the big blockers, I also saw a nice video there recently from the JW Weatherman. He does a nice piece there recently on how the blockchain size is actually a security parameter. It's a very interesting, so instead of thinking of it as something that allows us to achieve more transactions, to think of it more of as a security parameter. I think once you're along that path of thinking, then it makes more sense anyway to me. But just to say there, Thomas, that big fans of you over here. I don't know if you've ever been to Ireland, but if you're ever over, I'm sure my wife and I, we'd love to put you up, show you around Ireland for a little bit. And actually recently we got a crypto cafe here. They've got this huge sign outside the coffee shop saying crypto cafe. And now you can't pay for stuff in Bitcoin, you can pay in Litecoin. I think you can, maybe you can actually pay in Bitcoin, but it's not the default, you'd have to ask, but I'm sure who wants to pay for their coffee with Bitcoin anyway. But yeah, just to say that cryptocurrency is getting big over here as well. I think there's a lot of people talking about it, and it's just growing slowly. So if you're ever over, it'd be great.
Well, yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks so much. No, I've never been to Ireland. I'd love to go. I've read some James Joyce books and that kind of thing. But no, it sounds great that they're adopting it over there and that they have it in a cafe near you. And I think just more people need to learn about it and try it out and not be afraid of it. And learning things like you can put $100 in or you can put $20 in. You don't have to put your whole life savings in. And I just think if you get people to get a wallet and try it out and send $5 or whatever around between people, they'll get it and they'll be like, oh yeah, this is just another way of doing money. And maybe sometime you'll be on the internet, you want to do like a freelancing job, like graphic design for somebody. You say, hey, send me, Bitcoin, send money to here, and I'll send you the graphics, and done. And it's a great way to do business. And I think people are going to get used to it.
Yeah. And just the last thing there is that Andreas Antonopoulos actually came recently, and he actually sold out here. So that just shows that the people do pay attention. And he was actually on in the university here, and he was on in the School of Law. And we were talking with a couple of people afterwards, and we were saying that it could have been on in the School of Economics, could have been on in the School of Maths, could have been on the School of Political Science, could have been on in any of those schools. This topic. So.
Well, and that's what's so great about Bitcoin. You really do need a kind of a multidisciplinary approach to understand it. And that's why I think when they look back on it and they're like, why didn't the finance guys get it? And why did the computer geeks get it? And why did all these groups of specialists and experts doubt Bitcoin for so long? Even now, it's still kind of being doubted. And I think it's because you do need all these disciplines and it comes together. And certain people like the cypherpunks or the libertarians, these early groups of people, they understood right away that Bitcoin was the tool they'd been looking for and that solved problems that they had addressed in the system, whether it be privacy and the ability to spend your money on the internet however you want, or whether it be sound money principles and disliking inflation. Both of those groups found what they wanted in Bitcoin, and now a bunch of people have found getting rich quick and ICOs and all this other nonsense. But we're going to grow out of that too, I think, and we'll continue growing into money and just using it. So I think that's really exciting.
Excellent. So that's it, Thomas. I better head off. And would you also, after I head off, can you maybe say a little bit about what your plans are for Las Vegas? What are you cooking up down there?
Sure. I'd be glad to go into that. And thanks so much for the call from Ireland. It sounds wonderful. I'd love to visit anytime. So.
All right. Take it easy, Thomas. See you now.
You too. Bye-bye. Right. And remember, you can give us a call right now on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. And we'll talk about Bitcoin. That's what we do. Try to have headphones, a quiet room, glass of water, these kind of things. And then you're ready to talk on Bitcoin Talk Show. And you don't even need all that stuff. But what am I up to in Las Vegas? Well, I've visited Vegas a few times. I've went to conventions here. I went to a hockey game. I thought it's a fun place. And I know that a lot of other people visit Vegas. So I looked at the Nevada tax laws. I looked at the airport that's really inexpensive. The hotels are really inexpensive. And the food and the rent is also really inexpensive because they've really built out Las Vegas here. A lot of us have the old idea from maybe the 90s or the 80s that there's just the strip. And there is the strip, but there's this huge suburb that built around Las Vegas, and you can get a pretty good size house with air conditioning and all the things that you'll need to live in Las Vegas right here. So I thought it'd be fun for a year to move here and try to spread the word about Bitcoin, not just to the people that live here, and they're cool, but there's also 40 million tourists that come in and out of Las Vegas. And I had the pretty simple idea. If I give them a flyer, get them to put 20 bucks in a Bitcoin ATM, try it out, get it on a little paper wallet or something, or on their phone, and then take that knowledge home with them to Idaho or Iowa or New Jersey or wherever they come from, and to tell a couple of their friends, hey, you know, while I was in Vegas, I bought Bitcoin. And that this could be kind of your coming home from Vegas story where, you know, I saw a show and I got drunk and I lost money, but I bought a little bit of this crazy internet money. And just to try to spread the word about Bitcoin. And of course, we would film it. We'd film ourselves handing out these flyers, maybe wear the Mad Bitcoins hat and try to draw a little scene and get a megaphone or something fun, you know, and just try to spread the word about Bitcoin kind of the old fashioned way. And there's also a lot of businesses that accept Bitcoin here. There's a lot of Bitcoin ATMs. There's, I'd say, maybe 10 or 15, maybe 20 in the city. And there's several casinos that accept Bitcoin for rooms at the cafe, and they have a Bitcoin ATM right there in the casino. So there is, unlike San Francisco or certainly Sacramento, there's a lot more Bitcoin activity here and potential Bitcoin activity here. Additionally, we had the idea to try to build a studio here. This is kind of one of those, if we had a Patreon, if we had a patron who, you know, won a bunch of money playing cryptos and wanted to invest in us, you know, and this would be significant money, but we would rent a studio. We'd have an actual place where people could make podcasts and video shows about Bitcoin. And then we would try to pay people and have them work there and have them make podcasts and video shows about Bitcoin. That's the large scale idea, but the small scale idea is we just kind of do it here out of the house and we spread the word about Bitcoin, and we live on donations and we try to do the Patreon thing. And a lot of people will be able to fly here because it's cheap. So we're hoping that maybe someone like Adam Back or even Blake Anderson, my friend, could fly here, speak at the Bitcoin meetup, or as it is now, just hang out at the Bitcoin meetup because it's not very big. Come back to the house, do an interview here, record some bumpers. You're listening to World Crypto Network, and then they could go have fun at the casinos and the shows. So all of these ideas came together into the Vegas plan, and I haven't written it out much more than that, but that's pretty much the plan. And I'm going to keep talking about it, and I think it's a fun idea. And if it doesn't work in a year, I'm going to go try something else. So, but this is good for a year. I wanted to thank Up in Norway for his donation of 22 kroners. Very cool. And people are saying hello, Bitcoin. And Ralph was in Idaho. And Arova Vision, Vegas Golden Knights in 7. Ooh, that's strong. We were in trouble lately on the Knights. I know you guys don't like sports, but we are down 3-1. Washington's looking to close it out. When is the next Bitcoin talk show? Well, I try to do them on Wednesdays because that was originally the date and time. I don't know when it'll be. I'm trying to get a better schedule going. But right now, when I have the time, I just like to turn it on and get it going. I think we did about 2 hours here, and the goal was only to do 1 hour. So we're probably going to head towards the end of this show. Remember, we are donation supported. So if you'd like to subscribe to the Patreon down below, you can subscribe with your credit card, and you can pay as little or as much as you want. You can pay $5 a month, or you can pay $100 a month. It doesn't matter. And if you want to scan the QR code now, donate some Bitcoin, put a little bit in there, that'd be cool. Otherwise, we're going to go with another RFK quote. This one came from Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, who tweeted today a quote by RFK, who said, "Some men see things as they are and say, 'Why?' I dream things that never were and say, 'Why not?'" So Robert Kennedy called on Americans to build a better future together. 50 years after his death, his life and ideals still inspire us. And I think that's true today, no matter what party you're in. RFK, pretty great guy. And it's always sad to see the various assassinations of 1968. So very wild year in history, a lot to read about there. And that's about it for this episode of Bitcoin Talk Show. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, from Bitcoin Las Vegas. Bye bye.